Hello, my name is Emmett Murphy, and I was a judge in the state court system for over 30 years. I presided over criminal cases in the Yonkers City Court for close to 10 years. I served in the Westchester Family Court and Westchester County Court, and in the County Court I presided exclusively over serious criminal cases, felonies. I also served as a Supreme Court Justice for over 20 years and presided over a wide array of cases, some of which were criminal. In my opinion, it's beyond question that an individual's socioeconomic status has a direct impact on that individual's tendency toward crime. There are many factors that lead an individual to commit a crime and be charged with it and appear before the court. I don't believe there is one more prevalent or more important than the individual's socioeconomic status. There is nothing that would cause that person more directly to wind up in court on a criminal case. And there is no group of people more qualified to discuss the impact that poverty has on crime than the men and women of the criminal justice system. In this video, you're going to hear the opinion based on personal and professional experience from individuals of all aspects of the criminal justice system on the impact of an individual's socioeconomic status, what it has on that person's propensity toward crime, and the ultimate result that he has committed a crime. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elena Goldberg Velasquez, and I am a judge in the city of Yonkers. And a large volume of the cases that I handle are criminal cases. And I will say that a person's socioeconomic background oftentimes does have a propensity or a link to them committing crimes. Gangs in the city of Yonkers are prevalent, and they tend to target younger adults and teenagers, particularly those of lower socioeconomic status. And oftentimes gang initiation or gang involvement involves committing crimes. Also, another issue is, say, people who don't have a strong family involvement, not necessarily a dual family household, but just a positive role model in their lives to make sure that they're always on the right track and doing positive things. So I will say that oftentimes a person's propensity to commit crime is linked to the socioeconomic status and whether they particularly have positive role models in their lives, ensuring that they are on the right track.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Puerto. I'm an attorney in Westchester County, and I've been practicing criminal law here for over 20 years. My experience is that a person's socioeconomic level does have an impact on their involvement in the criminal justice system, certainly based upon my experience anecdotally. I was a prosecutor for 15 years, and now I'm a law clerk in the adolescent offender court in Westchester County, the youth part. And my experience is that, generally speaking, people who are involved, who are a member of a lower socioeconomic level, often have challenges that result in their involvement in crime. Some of those challenges can be impacted by their lack of access to resources. For example, their lack of access to health care, which might assist them with issues involving substance abuse, may involve mental health issues. And I think my experience is that people who have substance abuse issues, mental health issues, are more likely to be involved in the criminal justice system. In terms of the adolescent offender part and seeing children, juveniles, and adolescents age 14, 15, 16, and 17 who are involved in the criminal justice system, I think a lot of those children become involved because of a lack of supervision at home. That lack of supervision could be the direct result of, again, a lack of access to resources. Maybe their parents are suffering from substance abuse issues, mental health issues. Therefore, they're unable to supervise their children appropriately, and those children end up committing criminal behavior. I also think that oftentimes we see children involved in the criminal justice system who have parents themselves involved in the system and perhaps are incarcerated themselves. We also see a fair amount of adolescents that are involved in crime with gangs that are gang related. Again, these are children of a lower socioeconomic level. They have a less supervision at home, and perhaps they're looking for some sort of family unit, and they find that in a gang. Those are some of the reasons why I think that socioeconomic level impacts a person's involvement in the criminal justice system.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Olkers. I'm a Yonkers police officer, 2nd Precinct, and I'm here just to briefly discuss the impact of socioeconomic status on crime. And it's my professional opinion and my experience that socioeconomic status really plays an oversized role in when and how crimes are committed. I believe it transcends race. Just in my experience, unfortunately, many crimes are committed in low-income areas, which happen to be, at least in my city, inhabited by minority populations, and they are usually, crimes are committed against others of the same minority population or similar populations. But just in my own personal research, I've noticed that, there's crime, in similar rates in places such as, Western Kentucky or Eastern Kentucky, Western West Virginia, and those populations are, predominantly white, but the crime rates are similar to what they are here. It's my professional opinion that socioeconomic status really plays the predominant role.
Hi, I'm Westchester County Legislator James Norm. As a legislator, I have had the privilege to communicate with constituents in my district on a much more personal level. I have been proud that many of them have come to me with their issues and concerns that affect their daily lives. Through this experience and my experience as a lifelong Yonkers resident, I see no way that anyone could argue against the fact that an individual's economic status plays a huge role in the chances that the person will commit a crime. So much of the crime we experience in Yonkers is caused by an individual's sense of desperation and emotional toll of being below the poverty lines. The young people in our great city are also faced with the stress of trying to make ends meet while trying to find a community outside of the perimeters of a gang type of situation. We can go on and on about different ingredients that are put into the origin story of a criminal. But from my experience as a county legislator and a lifelong Yonkers resident, above all else, the so-called economic status appears to play one of the biggest roles. Thank you.
Go.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Lopez. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Yonkers. I'm also a community activist here. Today we're going to talk about socioeconomics, economics and how it relates towards crime in the area. I'm not going to give you any data information. I'm not going to give you any numbers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit about what it's like living in a situation like that, and how you develop into a world of crime, let's say. I grew up, my mom was a mother of 11 children, and she got out of a very bad domestic violence situation. So she ended up having 11 children, living in the south side of town, and she didn't know no English, she didn't know how to drive a car, she basically had no resources. So the only thing that she could do was she could depend on welfare, Department of Social Services, to help her and help feed us. Well, there was 11 of us, so that's a lot of mouths to feed, and my mom got very depressed with the situation that she was in, and eventually started drinking. So my mom became an alcoholic, and the 11 of us had to basically fend for ourselves. And what we did was, some of the things that we did was, like, for example, in the middle of the night when it was dark outside, my sister and I would go into the Goodwill boxes that they put out there, you know, for the clothes, to give out free clothes. We would go in there, and that's where we would get our clothes from. That was the beginning of a life of crime, because we were actually stealing, but we didn't know that, because we weren't going home, and what we found was a whole bunch of riches, all these beautiful clothes that we were able to wear. And then another situation is my mom would take us to the park. We would go to Van Cortlandt Park. She would bring the bread, the sliced bread, but she would be drinking with her friends. And basically, she told us, you know, go to the supermarket and get the cold cuts. So we would go to the supermarkets. Of course, we didn't pay for it. We would take the salami and the cheese and go back to the park. And then my mom would put one slice of salami, one slice of cheese, and into the bread, and that would be our sandwiches. Those were the best sandwiches that we ever had, because a sandwich like that was a delicacy for us. And the fact that we ended up stealing it was normal to us. See, because that's what we grew up with. Because we didn't have anything, we just had to steal everything in order to basically survive. And so there's the area is mostly single women. And there are actually quite a few that have the dads living in the household, but we will look at those as being in another class, because if you had a dad in the household, that was another level of greatness, and we would look up to those folks. So it would be us basically, and then teenagers, they wanted to get those fresh new sneakers. They wanted to wear those new jeans that everybody else was wearing when they went to school. The only way to do that was to sell drugs. Where I come from, that was the only way to make money. You see, because they wouldn't get hired. They wouldn't get hired because of where they came from, because of their lack of education, and because of probably, you know, running with the police here and there, you know, like a disorderly conduct or something like that. Because the whole area is dysfunctional, but we call it normal. That is our normalcy. So the kids will go out, the guys, you know, they'll go out, they'll sell drugs. But you see, the drugs are not being bought by us. We don't have the money. We can't buy the drugs. The people from outside, the people that work, the people that have good quality jobs, they coming into the neighborhood, and they're the one giving us the money. And so it's like a demand, it's a supply and demand. They want the supply, they demand it, we supplied it to them. And that's how we got our money, and that's how we were able to wear, you know, new sneakers, or go home and give mom, you know, some food so that she can cook for the day. Because for the most part, it was mostly white rice with eggs. That was the basically daily meal that we had. So the whole area is disadvantaged, it's poor, and nobody pays attention to it. Basically, you know why? Because they're not educated. They're not educated on how to vote. They're not educated on how to work the system in order to get the resources that they need. See, ain't nobody told them. Ain't nobody came into the neighborhood and said, listen, you can get out this box. They're in a box. We were all in this box, and we didn't know that there was a way out of there. We didn't know that there was another world out there, because see, this was our whole life, our whole being. So one of the reasons is because we don't vote, because we're not educated on that. And if you don't vote, what happens? Then, you know, let's put it. I'm going to tell the truth. They're not going to pay attention. The elected officials are not going to pay attention to you. They're going to pay attention to those constituents that vote and that call and make complaints. See, we didn't know that. We didn't know how to make a phone call and complain, and we didn't know how to vote. So therefore, we were basically abandoned, and we had to live our lives and find a way to survive. Another thing, like as far as like the selling of the drugs in order to make the money, right? After a while, it becomes territorial. See, somebody else is selling in one block, somebody else is selling in the other block, and you got all these rich people coming to buy. They want the money, so there becomes a little turf war on who gets this corner, who gets that corner. And what happens is they end up fighting, and that escalates, and it escalates to really horrible violence. I lost not one, I lost two brothers in the streets. Two brothers in the streets in the city of Yonkers because of violence, and because of where we were born and where they were at the moment. One was on Elliott Avenue on the south side, the other one was on Nodine Hill on the south side. Those are the two most economically disadvantaged area in the city of Yonkers, and both my brothers were killed in those areas. So basically, the life of crime happens because there is lack of. There is lack of resources. There is lack of education. There is lack of everyone from slumlords to CPS coming in and checking on the kids all the time, and it's just a whole crazy environment that we call normal. But the thing is that there, I just want to say that there is hope out there, because once you step out that box, everyone that's in there in Southwest Yonkers, they all have good hearts. They're all good people. They just don't know any better. But once you go in there and you lend that helping hand, you'll see how smart they are. You see how willing they are and how much they want to change and how much pride they take in their environments. And that's what I hope to see, more of. You see, I came from that area. I lived that life. I got arrested several times. Today I can tell you that I'm a former councilwoman and I have the prestigious key to the city. Who gets the key to the city? I got one. I got one because because every time I got in trouble, there was a social worker or somebody that lent me a hand and that planted a seed in me. So if we can just have people plant that seed and go and go into these communities, there's going to be incredible change. But the bottom line is that's not happening, and so it's leading to more crime, and it keeps continuing, and the cycle continues and continues with your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephew, and that's what we call living a normal life inside a box. Have a great day.